Hey everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we're going to be talking Season 6, Episode 2, Home. And joining me today are two lovely ladies who have been on Episode Club before, but they're joining me today for a podcast edition. We're giving Johnny a break for a little bit, so he's not always on with me all the time. But, ladies, introduce yourselves.
Hi there, I'm Clarissa Thompson. You might have seen me in previous episodes of Episode Club or the Cylon Johns reviewing Battlestar Galactica. So it's great to be on. Thanks for having me, Mackenzie.
And greetings, everyone. Alicia Kingston here. And like Mackenzie said, we've done Episode Club before, but I've not been on a podcast yet. So yay for first times and popping cherries and all that good stuff. Let's get into the episode.
Yes, first time. There's always a first time for everything. So, we're going to actually start in King's Landing, which is, I believe, the second sequence of this episode. So basically, the scene starts with a drunken guy talking about Cersei and how she appeared in 510, and he gets his comeuppance, and then we just basically have Marcella's funeral and the perspectives of in the Sept of Baelor and outside in the Red Keep. So, what do you all think about this whole sequence of events that happens in King's Landing?
I wish I knew that guy's name, because you know what? He would be on the They Deserved It list. How much, I don't care how drunk you are, how much of an idiot do you have to be talking shit about the Queen? Did you really expect to get away with that? Yeah, no. Yeah, unnamed random drunk guy won from Flea Bottom. You deserved it, sir.
Mm-hmm. Totally. He was like the bra King's Landing, He was just like, as he's talking, you're like, oh, I've met that guy before. He's a douche. So yeah, I totally feel the same way. He got his comeuppance in what I like to call the head smashy episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I'm still baffled why he turned around and looked surprised that the mountain was standing in front of him, bruh.
Yeah,
right?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
you won't be telling no more tales after now. I bet you shut the fuck up now.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just like, yeah, you're gonna go talk bad about the Queen Mother, and you're just gonna be like, and not expect any repercussions. Like, you can expect that she has little birds, but she does have little birds scattered around King's Landing. So the mountain is not a little bird, but he still does.
He's a big hawk,
Yeah.
Especially when you're like in the middle of the square yelling about it. Idiot.
It's just so stupid.
Some people never learn. But I will shed a small tear for little Marcella Baratheon.
Yeah,
but Marcella Lannister.
Yeah,
she didn't deserve that fate at all. She really didn't.
She is not on. They did not deserve that.
No, yeah, right, exactly. She would be near the top of the list. They did not deserve it.
The line that Cersei says, from her first breath, she was so sweet. Like that in a nutshell really just encapsulates what Marcella was in the breadth of the story and her place in the family.
And she was super smart too. I mean, she kept to herself a lot, and I think in the show and in the book, she's a very internal character, even though she's around and in different scenes. And she was super smart. Like Jaime didn't have to say, "I'm your dad." She already knew. She figured it out on her own and was smart enough to not talk about it to anyone until it was actually brought up to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to that girl, and I am sorry that her character had to die.
Yeah,
she could have been great.
Yeah, Marcella number 2. Justice for Marcella number 2.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tommen is so worried about Cersei as well. Like, she's like, yeah, and Jaime's like, why didn't you let your mother come here? And he's like, I'm worried that she will be rearrested by the Faith, even though she had her walk of atonement. And the High Sparrow's like, well, she's not clean enough yet, I guess, to come back into the Sept. And this is too where Jaime kind of gets angry at the High Sparrow, and it's like, we've all sinned before. I've sinned. I've done horrible things. I've killed my own king, and yet I'm not punished for this. So he's like kind of towing that line of, I've done bad things, like killing my king and involving myself in incest, but I'm not in trouble. It's just the women and then Loris that are in trouble.
I think for as much as I don't like Jamie, he does have a knack for calling shit the way it is, and I will give him all the points in this scene because he is speaking the absolute truth. The High Sparrow was never about faith and being as clean as you can be with the gods or whatever. No, it's a power play. He doesn't want to admit that to himself, I think, but it's a clear power play. He wants the faith to be in control. And he manipulated Tommen to get there. He lightweight manipulated Cersei first to get there, and she was too stupid because that's just Cersei. Thinks that she's Tywin with teats, and all of her plans always fail. But yeah, so now they have to deal with this. I mean, and Jamie is totally right. I kind of would have liked to see what would have happened if he would have just, been that impulsive Jamie and just cut this motherfucker down right there. How would that have played out? I mean, I think it would have been a fight, but I think he'd have been okay.
Yeah.
He tends to get out of tight spots.
Yeah, they're like, you don't, what is it? It's like the gods won't mind they spilt more than blood than the rest of us combined, but it's like you want to pick a fight in the Sept of Valor, and James is kind of like, sure, why not? But obviously it doesn't go through. But it would have been at least fun to see it sort of.
We would have at least gotten rid of the High Sparrow right there, because Jamie would have taken care of him easily.
Yeah, exactly, and we didn't have to wait until episode 10 for that to actually happen.
The idiot that he was, he deserved it too.
Yeah, Jamie's. I think the only reason that Jamie backed down, I think he had Tommen in mind. Honestly, because he would have been starting a war with the faith, and if he was dead, because he was killed right there in the Sept after this incident, then where would that leave Tommen? And where would that leave Cersei and Marjorie, So I think in the end he made I don't know if there was a right choice in that situation, but I think that he made the choice that he felt was appropriate at the time. But I personally would have been fine if he'd cut him down, because I agree with you, Alicia. I think that I think
just get rid of that problem right now.
I think that the High Sparrow likes to think that his motivation is faith, but his motivation is ambition.
Yep, it's total power. And totally. You think about the numbers that he has. Who's the best fighter that he had? Freaking Lancel. Lancel. Right? To quote Robert Baratheon, what a stupid name. Fucking Lancel. Yeah. That's the best that you had. Bitch, we have the Mountain. We have armored knights that are actually trained, have been training since they were like 10. Go ahead and step out your building. Go ahead and step out your building. Yeah. Come on. They really could have ended that very easily. The High Sparrow did not have a whole lot of numbers where the Faith Militant were concerned. And they definitely did not have the training that the Kingsguard had. It shouldn't have taken any type of power play bringing in the Reach to get anyone out of there. I think they could have played it a lot differently, but they didn't. But we have to have drama to make the stuff interesting and keep the storylines going. So can't solve everything the logical way. That would just be dumb.
Yeah,
and it can't all be torches and pitchforks either.
No,
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's the balancing act that's involved, and then the kind of last scene that we have in King's Landing this episode is Tommen going back to Cersei and talking about how he feels bad that she got imprisoned and that he wants to lock up the High Sept and tear down the Sept but instead obviously what had happened and Cersei just is like trying to deal with that, and also asking about the details lately about Marcella's funeral. Like, what dress was she wearing? Was it the red one or the gold one? Tommen's like, the gold. And she said she was so pretty in that. And it's Cersei reeling with the fact that her last child is in danger now, even now more than ever. Because now he wants to fight against the religious zealot, which is the High Sparrow, and dealing with that. And she's, I think, also counting down the days until when he potentially has to die, too, which is just a horrible thing for a mother to think about.
Have we ever even seen Tommen hold a sword? Like, you trying to plan battles and attack people. Bruh, were you ever even a squire? A page? Do you have any type of training? Did you ever even jog a lap around King's Landing at all? I don't know if fighting should have really been at the top of your list.
Yeah. I noticed the same for Joffrey though too. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if you got your heir and your spare, like why are they not being taught in battle like all other kings? Like, I never understood that.
Joffrey, I think at least he was in training. I don't think that training obviously wasn't completed, and he obviously wasn't very good because Arya kicked his ass before she was even 10. But he at least was in training. They never showed any of that with Tommen. I mean, I guess in the long run it really didn't matter because you have to move the storyline along, but I just question, like, he probably never had any type of even, like, battle training. Like, Rob, 14 years old, he was planning battles and was a great tactician for how young he was. You put something like that in front of Tommen, it would be like X's and O's. He wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think they needed to have better prepared Tommen, and I think also if there would have been a little more of Marcella in Tommen, I think things could have gone a lot differently, if that makes sense. Marcella, honestly, I think that's the kid that Cersei should have put all of her thoughts and training into, because she was a smart cookie, and I think if you would have let her, she would have been picking up some swords. I mean, she was in Dorne. I'm sure Tristan had her out there training with him. Yeah, no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah, that's really where the show really messes up that whole book to show adaptation, because in the book there was the plot to get Marcella on the throne, so like they just completely like disregarded that and then went their own way, like we've talked about before. If the show had more seasons and more episodes, they probably could have fleshed out Dorne a little bit more. And maybe
they could have actually done Dorne. Yeah. I don't count what they did as actual Dorne.
Yeah, they could have just changed it, but I think even David and Dan have actually admitted that Dorne is their least favorite storyline, like in the book or something, or like it was their least favorite storyline to adapt to make into the show. But it's like, if then just like not just talk about it, we don't actually have to go there. But
yeah, I mean, they could have maintained the lore. They could have. It's kind of like, we're not fond of Dorne. Are you not fond with Dorne? Well, here, try Diet Dorne, because that's what it was, and it would have been better if they had tried harder.
Yeah. Exactly. We're still mourning for Dorne, man. I don't think that's gonna end. That's never gonna end.
Well, because in the last episode 1, it's where Dorne actually officially becomes the most stupid plotline in the show, because Ariel Hota is killed by, like, a dagger, which, like, come on.
It's that long!
That wasn't even a real dagger.
And he's this big!
He's like 400 pounds of muscle. And he had on armor under those fancy clothes. How the fuck did a little toothpick in the back, no less?
They have a history of big guys fall into little things, like,
when you hit them in the right spot. When you hit them in the right spot, if you would have caught like an artery or something, I could understand him falling over from that. Like, but you hit him square, like in the middle of his back. That there's nothing vital right there. Maybe he wouldn't be able to raise his arm all the way up for 2 seconds. It's just I'm sorry. We're so off track. I get ambulance about how much they met.
I guess we're doing
apologize.
Yeah, just it happened.
Hilarious.
There's no Storm, thankfully, in this episode, but
No, it's
talked
true.
about though. So we can either go to where do we want to go next? We can go anywhere.
Marine, I think, and Bravos, they have some tiny parts. So let's go ahead and.
So basically, in this, Tyrion talks to the remaining people that he's left with, being Missandei and Grey Worm, about the remaining dragons underneath the pyramids of Marine, and Tyrion has a special bonding moment with the dragons. And yeah, we talk. So
don't eat the help.
I haven't got this far in the books, or is this even in the books already?
This wouldn't be in the books. I don't think.
No, not at all.
But for book readers, I'm wondering.
Tyrion is nowhere near Daenerys right now.
No, but how satisfying is it that he got to make a little relationship with the dragons, knowing that he always dreamt of dragons in his youth?
Yeah.
And that they at least bring it up when he's telling them the story, when he's gone to unchain them. That was just like, it touched my Tyrion loving heart.
Yeah, he's that mystery character. I think we're forever going to be wondering who's really the daddy on when it comes to Tyrion. But I really did like how, you know, he goes in, he's talking, he's moving slow, and I'm sure it's not the very first time that he's been down there. I think they know him enough, or at least know his scent enough to where they wouldn't hurt him. And you know, they let him get close just to see what he's gonna do. And as soon as that first collar comes off, he turns around and Rhaegal is right there, like, okay, here, me next, let's go, right now. So yeah. I did appreciate that part. It was cute.
Yeah, it's a moment where a lot of book people who've speculated who Tyrion is, as well as show watchers who know about the book plot and the book lore around Aerys and Joanna's relationship, and what that was like. They're just like, it's such a moment. It's kind of, for like a lot of people, I think a lot of people like this moment with Tyrion and Viserion and Rhaegal over Jon's moment with Drogon. Like, it's one of those divisive things of like which one means more. Yes, Jon's moment with Drogon is important because it's establishing that relationship directly with Dany and Drogon.
It does. Yeah, that scene shows that they recognize Jon as family. Earlier
that Targ
on.
blood.
Yeah, or just Valyrian blood. Like,
it's like you can almost tell it when Drogon landed, because he's looking at him like, wait a minute. Why do you smell like that, Northman? Come closer. What?
Yeah.
Mom, do we know him? I think we know him.
Yeah. Is he related in some way? Yeah, it's that whole blood rider and the relationship to the dragons, which comes into question quite a lot. And it's mentioned in Fire and Blood like a lot, with the dragons and their relationships to their riders and all of that. But yeah, Tyrion just is like, even when he's going with Varys, he's like, next time I do have an idea like that, punch me in the face. The dragons just to get too excited because they're now free. Yeah.
And you're wondering if he's like, I just peed my pants. Bye.
Like, they didn't
blame him. I couldn't blame him if he did.
Yeah,
right.
like, they didn't eat me. Success.
I'm gonna have a celebratory pee in my pants right here.
So true.
Exactly. But yeah, they talked about it, how Tyrion has always wanted to have a dragon, and that the last dragon had died 150 years before the main story. And yeah, it's sad because it talks about like how the last dragons of record were the sizes of cats and dogs, and for him to see one as big as Viserion and Rhaegal, even though they're not as big as Drogon, they're substantial.
And they're not done growing yet.
No, because they're like preteens at this point. They're not full grown. So But I think Drogon will obviously be the biggest dragon because he's always been free to roam
Yeah,
around.
he spent more time in the open air and not confined in a space.
But but as we know, in the end, it doesn't really matter which size they're still going to impact the story no matter what.
True enough, true enough.
So, in Bravos, pretty much, Arya is found by Jaqen, and he says the line of a girl, basically trying to get her to say her name, but she says no one. The girl is no one, and he restores her back into the House of Black and White. It's a quick scene, but are you kind of happy where Arya's storyline is going with this? And did you actually, or were you surprised about the whole blind storyline that they went with?
I expected the blinding, just not in the way that they did it. It's more of a training mechanism in the book, not a punishment. And would it have killed them to have just one damn cat walk by as Arya got a hit off on the waif? Just one cat, so we know that that's the upcoming badass warg skin changer that's being trained right now. And no cats, no nothing. We just get to see Arya get smacked down again. And then Jaqen takes her back because I guess she took enough licks for everything. And then she proceeds to start training again and continues to get her ass kicked. I don't know what they were doing with that storyline.
I like to think that the cat was there, just nobody could see it because cats are masters of being invisible. My cat, she can disappear. I'll be looking for her and find out that she was like in the ceiling or something because she's a cat. And if she wants to go there, she does. You'll never find her. It's ridiculous. So maybe that's all it was. Maybe the ward kitty was like, I'm having a nap. Oh, what's going on?
Like, yeah, sorry, you can't use my eyes today. I'm busy sleeping.
Yeah, not today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, but not today.
What do I say to the god of death? Not today.
Not today. Like in a tired voice. Not today. Yeah, it's Arya and her training, because at this point, in the books, they kind of leave her training off at a weird spot, especially in dance, because we get more of her as Mercy chapters in the next few books, so it's kind of awkward to figure out where exactly they were going to bring this storyline this season for. And this happens with a lot of characters. They're kind of just lofty spots that we leave them in, which hopefully they follow some sort of direction like they are now, but it's hard to say.
Yeah,
just Arya. Justice for Arya's character arc this season.
If only. I mean, I get she definitely needs to learn how to take hits and use her other senses and whatnots. But the way they showed it, it was almost like she wasn't learning anything because she just kept getting knocked down. And then all of a sudden she's fucking Assassin's Creed running through the streets of Bravos. Like, all right, whatever. And I guess I'll suspend my disbelief,
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have at least given her a Rocky montage or something.
Something. 5 seconds at most of her not getting fucked up, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief really affects you when it's she gets stabbed about 6 or 7 times in the stomach, and then the next day she is bolting after
a couple hours of sleep and a bowl of brown, and she's good to go for a damn Assassin's Creed Wolverine chase down the freaking streets of Bravos with Terminator Wave following her.
And luckily she doesn't bruise too badly, so.
Right, she slid down a whole 2 flights of steps on her damn stomach that was stabbed up.
Yeah.
How?
Oh, man.
Wolverine? Word?
Yeah, it's so stupid,
I can't relate. I bruise like a peach, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just nuts. I guess so. We can get another kind of storyline out of the way. We can talk about the Iron Islands and the introduction of Euron Greyjoy.
Right. Euron's first appearance.
Yeah.
Guyliner.
Yeah, hot topic guy, as some people call him. Yeah, so basically they talk about Yara, or Asha, and Balon talk about how basically he won the War of the Five Kings, and how they have no mainland holdfast anymore. So they want to go and conquer some parts of Westeros. But he makes that weird comment of, well, if you're not going to do it and you're not going to lead, I'm going to go make somebody who's going to go do this and lead properly, which is just means like the like that factor that's just like so gross. And then we get obviously Euron's introduction into the show and Balon's exit of this show. So, how do you feel about the, I guess, Iron Islands storyline for this episode?
Take it first, Clarissa.
Well, I can't compare to the books because, like I said before, I'm not that far. But I thought, the Euron introduction could have had a little more pizzazz. It was just like, who's this guy he ran into on the bridge? Oh, it's his brother. Oh, he threw him over the bridge. Okay, well, there's that. Drama! It was such a moment to, let's just move the story along, people. Move it along. Yeah, that was kind of what I got from that scene. I thought that the interaction between Yara, Asha, Yasha, and Balon contributed more to the story than Euron tossing Balon off of the bridge. Although, I wasn't sad to see Balon go. He was kind of dumb.
He was extremely dumb, and his way of thinking was just set way, way back. Like, this is why Yara is really the only Greyjoy I mess with. She's a forward thinker. Yeah, she sees all the reaving and whatever, how their way of life is, but she's not trying to go back to that. She wants to do what can sustain her people for the future, not that old fuck shit. The mainlanders don't like y'all. There's a reason for that. Stop kidnapping and killing and raping your neighbors, and you might find out maybe they'll want to actually trade goods with you a little bit, so your stupid islands aren't scarce of every damn thing anymore. And that's the direction you're trying to go. Balon's not trying to hear that, so he walks off and has his little tantrum. And then we meet freaking Captain Guyliner. This dude.
I love that name so much.
He's supposed to be Balon's little brother. And one, he's supposed to be sexy as hell. So fail there. Two, he looks more like Theon's older brother than Balon's little brother. It doesn't fit. The one good thing about that scene is they showed how sure-footed he was on that bridge, because it was in the middle of a storm and that bridge was swinging back and forth, very unsavory-like, and he was steady as a rock. So I'll give you cool points for that. Otherwise, you don't impress me. They couldn't even be bothered to give him a damn eye patch. You can get those for like 2 cents at a costume store now. You really couldn't find him a damn eye patch? It just, that's all I gotta say about that. Just meh.
Yeah.
How many people were with other people at the same time and they saw, how do you say his name? Kalu Ashbeck?
Yeah.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay.
And so many people were like, is that Ewan McGregor?
They thought that was Ewan McGregor?
Well, they were like, he's put on some weight.
What did Ewan McGregor do to them? That's an insult.
Yeah, no, I was just like, no, it's not Ewan McGregor. It would be all over the papers if Ewan McGregor was going on Game of Thrones.
I might be happy because I think he would have, given a little bit more into that character.
But I could see it. They could be like cousins.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I think Pilu is like some sort of Nordic.
Yeah, Yeah, his name sounds like he hails from those
Nordic
parts.
descent.
I think he's Danish.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Mm,
but I
delicious.
think there was the rumor though that I think there was a while ago that there was a rumor that Ewan McGregor was going to be in the show, but then he's like, nah, it's like a dispel, sort of thing. But
That would have been awesome.
it happens. But yeah, it's just they could have done Euron a lot better because obviously he's more menacing and more creepy.
It wouldn't have taken much.
No.
Give him a freaking contact that is just all red on one eye and put an eye patch over it and color his freaking lips blue. That's not hard.
No, like you've done worse and more extensive things.
You've given us dragons with awesome dragon fire.
Yeah.
You can do some blue lipstick and a freaking eye patch.
Pop down to the dollar store, folks. Get yourself some.
It's totally in the budget.
For Euron.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah, just do it, like judge a little bit more, but
Just a little bit more judge.
We used all the lipstick on the White Walkers.
God damn it. Can't get the
Just
next
make 'em
supply
normal.
until next season. Oh well. But yeah, and then we obviously find out that in the Iron Islands, it's not the same way of having a ruler as traditional kingdoms, because they use who claims the Salt Throne is not based on lineage, rather than just whoever. It's a vote, pretty much. And Euron decides that he will want to claim the Salt Throne, but that comes next episode or a couple episodes from now. But yeah, Yara thinks she can win, but it's not gonna happen anytime soon, which is sad. But who knows?
Yeah, she has her followers, but she doesn't have enough of them. That's the only thing that was really stopping her.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out exactly what we're doing. So I guess we can talk about this one because it's another relatively short scene. We see Bran for the first time in a season, and he has continued his training, and we see our first real flashback of this season, and we see that he sees his aunt Lyanna, his father Ned, and his uncle Benjen all as children, including Hodor, whose actual first name is Willis. And so what did you think when we were getting this scene, especially because it has Lyanna in it?
Well, first of all, Bran looks like a grown-ass man now. I mean, the kid stays off screen for one season and he comes back. And he's like 3 times the size he was the last time we saw him. And he's got the grown man haircut now, not that cute little shaggy long hair that he had before. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy?
You know what though? If you've ever shared a home with a teenage boy, it was like one week going, hey, and then the next week going, hey.
Oh my God. Yeah, I went through that
what happened?
years ago with one of my cousins. Yeah, he's now taller than me, right. And his voice is all deep. He's like, hi, cousin. I'm like, ugh. Don't talk. Just sit there and still look a little bit cute. Don't talk. Shh. But yeah, so we get Bran. He's not in his full-on I am the three-eyed raven robot yet. He's still our Bran just now, and he's getting his Jedi training, and it's cool and whatnot. I think we got a little bit of Leaf and Mira having their chit chats while Bran was in training. And I don't know, the Children of the Forest, their story is sad, but they're not innocent. They totally aren't. I can feel bad for them for a little bit, but then no, y'all help create the fucking problem right now. So I can go for seeing some of y'all get stabbed up too. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I mean
y'all did this.
Yeah. And they paid the ultimate price.
A terrible price.
In the end.
Magic always comes with the price.
It's true.
And did not lie.
It's so true. They made a decision. I mean, obviously this is something that they planned ahead. It makes you wonder, where did the magic come up with it? They were able to, did they write this magic? Was it written from scrolls of children that were from the past of them, regardless of the fact that they were so old? But
there's somewhere in my memory I remember hearing something about like them finding some deep dark magic. Like I think they ran into they might have actually gotten to the heart of winter, and whatever that entity is there, I think that's where they pulled it from. But you know, from the way they shot it, when they show them making the Night King, I question whether, you know, the guy wasn't in on it also, because yes, he was tied up, you know, I get that, but maybe they just needed him to be as still as he could be while they were performing this.
Mm-hmm.
Who's not gonna look nervous, even though you know this thing is happening, this that you volunteered for? Your nerves are still gonna be shot, and that can translate as maybe you just look scared. Doesn't mean you were kidnapped. It's tinfoil. I know, I'm just putting it out there.
No.
I think that some of the first men might have been in on this bullshit too. There was a section of them that were allies. So, I don't know. I question whether the humans are completely innocent on this side. Also, I think there might have been a mixing of things there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always the one side and the other side, and then what actually happened. So.
Exactly. And I don't think we're ever going to know what actually happened.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until more canon material comes out, because I don't think the show is going to give us the right answers. But yeah, we see also, so we've always heard about Liana in this, but we see kind of a young version of her, which is like, for a lot of people, it's like, yes, we get to see like the physical representation. Huh?
And she was on a horse. That was super significant, because we always heard that Liana was great on a horse, and so was Brandon. And you know, like with Liana, they always said she was half a horse. You know, and I happen to think that she might have had some skin changing skills, and she just didn't know that's exactly what she was doing.
Yeah.
And she's not riding side saddle either.
No.
One of the things I noticed in that episode, I was like, good. I'm glad that they didn't gloss
Northern
over
ladies
that.
don't
She's
do
in
that
trousers.
Yeah.
Not the dainty, no.
Northern ladies really don't do that dainty nonsense. Even with like, you look at Mage Mormont and like some of the other Northern wives that are at the other castles, they're not dainty. Like Catelyn Tully is like the most daintiest of people in the North right now, and she's not from there, so she don't even count.
Yeah, and even I think with a lot of them, they were wearing like pants even then, so this was easier. But we also find that Hodor's real first name is Willis, and we get to see a young version of Old Nan, which is just.
And he can talk.
He can talk.
So, he can talk. That, like, it was so sad. Like when Bran comes back out, he's like, "Willis, you were actually speaking. What happened?" And Hodor's looking at him like, Hodor, like, you happened, you bastard. You fucking happened.
You is like, your existence made
right. You did it.
Yeah.
So. I think this episode has a sort of gives us that first time insight with Bran wanting to stay in his illusion. Like they had touched on that with him warging into summer earlier in the series, and then here, you know, it's showing his tendency to get lost in it, which I think might foreshadow the later on Three-Eyed Raven Bran, because Three-Eyed Raven Bran sounds like a breakfast cereal. But, if you stop and think about how the other Three-Eyed Raven
Brandon Rivers
is able to, you know, emote and everything, and then how completely shut off Bran is. It's that he had to completely shut himself out when he got his massive uploading of everything from the Weirwood Tree network. You know, I think that I think his tendency to fall into it is what later makes him a little by the time he gets back to Winterfell.
I feel like Bloodraven was so gung-ho about that because I think that's how he got caught. Like, I think he definitely went to the cave willingly, and started seeing like, oh, these are cooler magics that I can learn, and he let himself get lost. So by the time he came out, the trees already got him. He can't leave. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Bran in the book. There's a lot of speculation of whether he's ever actually going to leave that cave. I honestly didn't think he would, but the way the show spun it, I think he is going to, because at some point in time, Hodor is going to have to hold that door. That's a specific plot point from George R. R. Martin that is going to be there. So he's got to be holding it for a reason. The only reason I could think of was to cover their escape. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to, because the lore is so in the show is just
they diverge, and sometimes they intersect and they're good, but then other times they're just way apart.
Yeah, they weave and wobble at certain times, but yeah,
that was a fun flashback though. It was cute. Showed all of it. We had a Roderick, and we see he always had those awesomely cool massive chops.
The third degree burns.
Yeah.
And seeing old Nan out there was actually really cool too. So,
especially because not only because we haven't had an old Nan in the story literally since season 1, because the actor or actress rather, she had passed away before the show had premiered. So the fact that we get to see like even a young version of her is just awesome. This is kind of also leads into what Johnny and I have been thinking about Gilly and how Gilly may be a new version of old Nan. But we'll talk about that in another time.
I can see.
I think before, yeah. I think also something in up past the wall that's interesting is we start to see Mira's disillusionment with her situation now that Jojen is gone. I think she's really starting to feel like she doesn't have a purpose. And why Leaf has to say to her, Bran needs you, and like he's gonna need you soon. So don't get all
get out your feelings. I know it's rough. I know there's a whole lot going on right now, but look here, damn it, I've been in this cold ass tree for like the last half century. You can stand a couple more days, girl, together. So because when it happens, it's gonna happen quick, and you need to be on your shit. Get out your feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe you should be doing some push-ups. Maybe you should be making your own Rocky montage right now.
Right, Mira should be having some cardio training or something going on too.
Yeah, she needs some gym sessions.
You started your squats, but you have to get back up again.
Right, she's about to have to lug the damn grown-ass man that Bran is now around the whole frozen north. She needs to build that muscle back up.
Yeah, she should be going all Sarah Connor in prison right now.
She needs upper body strength.
Pull up.
Yeah, she needs her upper body strength and all that training for come episode 6. But
so that was beyond the wall. Let's head back south to the actual wall, and
or do you want to end off with the wall, and we talk about Roos's murder by Ramsay?
Oh yeah, Winterfell.
How the fuck did we not see that coming? Roos again. Damn it, you fucking deserved it, you idiot. Why would you antagonize this boy? Yeah. When you know what he is capable of. He already killed one of your kids. You know this.
Roos doesn't feel like he thinks that holding this over his head is going to make a difference, And I think he underestimates how ruthless Ramsay's willing to be towards his own family.
And the thing is, Roos laid it out. He basically said, I don't think they showed it all in the show, but what they did put in the show was, you played your, and it comes later, but you played your games this way, you did your other stuff that way, and look what happened. It all got screwed up. Mm-hmm. And you know what this boy is capable of. You know what he wants. You already made the mistake of legitimizing him. So that was your first mistake. You should have left him being a damn bastard, because now he thinks he's extra entitled to shit. And if you think a little baby coming into the world is going to stop him, you know it's not. There was already somebody in his way as far as your heir, and he took him out. And by all accounts, Dominic was actually a cool dude. Like, I don't think there's ever been one bad thing written or said about that guy. I would have liked to know him.
So. Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I think he grew up to be probably more like his mother, obviously, than Roose was. Than like Roose, I mean. But you can't hold like the lordship over somebody like Ramsay, you know. And what did he say when they found out the baby was a boy? Oh, you'll always be my son.
Yeah, or congratulations, father. Like,
first of all, if he was smart, you literally are controlling 2 castles right now. At least tell Ramsay he's going to have one of them.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, you're stationed in Winterfell now, so tell him that the Dreadfort's going to be his.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the very least, do that. Give him something at least to placate him a little bit while you're planning for something else, because you know this bastard is crazy. He fucking hunts women with dogs, man. Yeah. What made you think you having another child was going to stay his hand? How did you not see that he would come after you also? You got in his way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that because Karstark has shown up with Rickon in the last episode. So the fact that Karstark is there, and when Ramsay like shivs his father, there's a few people standing in that room, and even Maester Walken is like, Walda has had a baby boy, and after Roose has obviously been murdered, that tell the lords and tell the other lords and tell people that Roose had been poisoned by his enemies. Tell my father I've been poisoned by his enemies, and he said poison. And then obviously that's not enough for Ramsay. He has to go and kill his stepmother and his newborn brother, which is D&D. Why did you have to show us this?
Why'd you have to do it that way? Just put the kid in a blanket, cover his face, something, throw Walder off the freaking wall or something. Why did it have to be the dogs? Always with the damn dogs, man.
Yeah, first Miranda gets eaten by the dogs after she's dead, and then not being discriminatory, but Foul Walda, she's called in the show, and her son get eaten by dogs. Like, come on.
They didn't deserve that.
I'd just like to say that, I have a hard time believing he's starving these dogs. He's feeding them constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got to have the fattest hunting dogs out of the whole North.
Yeah, it's just, I don't feed them for 7 days. Which 7 days did you not feed them for?
Exactly.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right? I do question, though, how long actually had Ramsay been planning this? Because when all that happened, the only person that even flinched a little bit was the Maester.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else just stood around like they expected that to happen. So who's been sending Ramsay's secret messages to people planning this?
There's probably, the seeds probably had been planted. Johnny and I had talked about this. The seeds probably were planted in the episode where Sansa talks to Ramsay about his position because it's literally like pretty much immediately after the baby reveal happened. It's like, well, you're not actually, your legitimacy is based off of somebody else's legitimacy being Tommen. So it's like, it's not really a legitimate thing. And if your dad has another son, like, you're just pushed down a peg because you're not, even though you're technically on paper as a legitimate child, you're not actually. So it's that wavering in power, which is very much a Littlefinger thing and very much a Cersei thing that Sansa's learned from. So it may be her plus also his own ambitions. So it's just maybe an amalgamation of a few different people. But yeah, I feel like Karstark probably was just like, hey, I'm not gonna. If I'm on the winning side in this, in a sense, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. True enough.
Scene at Winterfell. But
All right, so want to head to the woods?
Yeah. So we get basically Brienne and Sansa talk about Arya and that Theon says he's going home. So.
Home.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Roll credits, because the title of the episode. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway.
Theon was right in this scene when he says that, he goes, what were his exact words? But they were like, there's nothing I could do to make up for what I did to your family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, at least there's somebody in the situations that it's really grasping the gravity of their actions. Like, I think that this is a big part of Theon's arc for his why am I gapping? I have no vocabulary this morning, apparently. But his redemptive arc. I think that this is an important step. The fact that he's absolutely acknowledging that there's nothing he can do. And they address it later with Jon and stuff. But I thought that this moment with Sansa, I think that it's the most open and feeling that we get from him about his arrogance and his behaviors in like seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's still a little bitch to me.
Oh, he's totally a little bitch, but I think that it's an important realization. I mean, you can know that you've done wrong and still be a bitch.
True. Yeah, and I do, appreciate that he owned up to it, but yeah, bro, you still deserved it, yeah, asshole.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. He made his own bed.
Yeah, totally. I did like the conversation with Brienne and Sansa where, Brienne says, no, your sister's still alive. I don't know where she is, but I know the last time I saw her, she was looking quite healthy. I mean, a little dirty and banged up, but still healthy and breathing. But she says she didn't actually look like a girl, and Sansa just chuckled like, yeah, nah, she wouldn't. That's Arya.
She also says that she's traveling with a man, and she never mentions that she's traveling with Sandor Clegane.
That's right. She never specifically said it was the Hound, and I wonder why they did that.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense that like Sansa wouldn't need to know that.
Yeah,
I think Sansa would actually very much appreciate that.
Yeah, because of the length of the protectiveness that he had over her. So yeah. It's kind of weird that the writing didn't mention that it was the Hound. Maybe because maybe it's for us to quote unquote forget about him because he shows up at the end of the season.
They glossed over it though. Remember, I mean, in later episodes, the spar that Brienne and Arya had. Sansa was there on the balcony when she said, the Swordmaster didn't beat the Hound. You did. It was just a little quick thing, but I'm not understanding why they gloss over that.
Weirdness in the writing.
It's kind of a big tidbit that should have been out in the ether already.
Yeah,
maybe.
I wonder if they're going to do something big with that later. Then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just wondering if the script writers were trying to like avoid her having to get into the whole. Well, she was with this man. She's in the company of this man, but. Then she was kind of on her own because I killed him, and then she disappeared. She didn't want to get into that part. just leave it at the good parts, and all is well. She's fine. She's fine.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see because everybody has to meet up this last season. So
yeah, all the survivors have to come together. But
pretty much.
Yeah, so it's just. This again that was just again a quick scene, but basically that there's that still the idea that Jon is still alive, but just kind of like because not really, but obviously come to the last chunk of scenes that we'll talk about, which is the wall. And it's the second half of the basically a 2-part episode, which is that Dolores Ed arrives back with the wildlings before Alistair Thorne was about to break down the door. And we see 1-1 in action, and then we get to Mel and her ritual, so to speak, to bring John back.
I have a question. Why the hell did Thorne actually think that this was going to completely work out 100% the way he thought it was? There's literally an army that's 3 times your size right next door that are loyal to the dude that you just stabbed up. And wait a minute, one of that guy's friends is missing? I wonder where he went. Do you think maybe he went to go get their fucking allies to come and kill you? How was this really going to work out in the long run for you, sir? How? You fucking deserve it, Alistair.
They might have thought that Dolores Ed was still in the room with everybody else. There's that possibility. They might not have known that he had snuck out to go get the wildlings. But I totally agree with that. I think that it's sort of like Thorne is in the same book as Roose Bolton, as Balon Greyjoy,
Not looking at the big picture, just their little binocular view.
And they're old school. They are too confident in their place to realize that they're vulnerable.
That's a very good way to put it. Very nice.
They're like old school politicians. They think that they've got it worked out, and then they get a young upstart taking things over, and they get all huffy.
Little upstart bastard. Lord Snow.
Yeah, like the disdain that Alistair has for John is just from the very beginning, and he's like little tots.
It don't even have nothing to do with John. You're mad because your side lost during the damn rebellion. You can't get at Ned for sending you to the wall, so you're gonna fuck with this kid. Yeah. I mean, does that really even make you feel better? Because you know what? He's the best sword you have training now.
Yeah, exactly.
And he does it like, appears like Lord Snow is the least useless person here. Well, yeah. what did you expect? Like, you know who the kid's father is. What did you expect?
Yeah, it's like
that you have to kiss his ass. No, but you can still treat people like they're decent humans. Good Lord. Get out of your feelings, Thorne. It's been, 10 years and shit since the rebellion?
17 years since the beginning of the show. When it happened in the beginning of the show. So yeah, at this point, it's about 20 years, I guess you could say, give or take. 21 years.
You being a bully to this little kid when he got there and still being an asshole years later isn't going to change your situation in any way, shape, or form. So why? Just why?
Yeah, and then Davos with his whole thing of in the last episode, just give me a good maybe I'll take up your offer, but obviously he doesn't. And yeah, the guys that get killed by 1-1, just a comedic moment because 1-1 just throws them against the wall and they're dead.
And then smashy moment number 2.
And then Ollie tries to be a big person by trying to take out Tormund or something like that. It's like, no,
go sit your little young ass down, boy.
Yeah, and then Dolores says put them in the cells where they belong. And then Tormund obviously sees John's body, and he's like, I'll have my men build room for a fire, which obviously they don't need. Come later in this episode, and then
you know what? Real quick, I'm actually just now thinking about this. Why were they so pressed to even get at John's body? For all they knew, he was dead. Even if they were worried about him coming back as a white, okay, he's in a room with people that they consider enemies.
Yeah.
That wouldn't hurt them. So why was Alistair so worried about getting to this kid's body?
It is kind of a weird thing. It's maybe because they because of Mel being there, but even then, like they don't
Even then, yeah,
Mel
Thor,
away,
he doesn't believe in any of that shit. So
No, I know. So
I don't know. It's
always
weird. It's just strange.
I always imagined that it had more to do with the fact that John's most loyal people were there and that he wanted to, you know, cut out all the rot. You know what I mean? Like now that they've amputated the leg, they wanted to cut out the rot.
Get rid of all the scar tissue and all that.
Exactly.
Makes
Keep
sense.
the people
Makes sense.
who would, because I mean, even when they're sitting in the hall and they're like, we killed Jon Snow, you hear one of the men say, murderers! You know, there are other people in the Night's Watch who were supportive of Jon, but they listened to the arguments and they were like, well, he's the Lord Commander now, so I guess we'll just have to run with this because it's too late to do anything about it. As for the wildlings, yeah, I was a little confused about them coming in for a dead body myself, but you know, they must have seen the bigger picture with Thorne in charge and, you know, the fact that they had attained power through treason and that Jon's survival had been paramount for them to be able to survive this side of the wall. So maybe that's why, but they did really leave it vague. They left it to our imaginations. They should have been a little more like, here's the story.
Yeah, like spell it out a little bit more. Give us a little bit more.
Just a few more letters of the alphabet so we can guess the correct vowel, please.
Right?
I think because it's Davos talks about like how it's like that we're all kind of here because of Jon, and that to kind of what's that word? Just kind of avenge him a little bit. But obviously.
Well, Davos, he's the one that kind of started, you know, the whole resurrection thought, because he knows the magic is real. So he goes to Melisandre and he says, you know, I know he's dead right now, but does he have to stay that way? Like, can your red god do something about that? Maybe.
I was iffy about that myself. That whole thing. I was thinking, I could understand Melisandre going, well, you know, if Thoros could do this and he's a drunk, I can do this. But
you know, that's exactly what she was thinking.
You know, but no, but she's so beaten down, like her confidence is so low. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, the last person that I'd expect to be like your phone a friend for her would be Davos.
And that's why it's so significant.
I know, but where does he even... I mean, does it come from his days of having been a smuggler that he's heard about this magic? Because he wasn't involved with anything.
No, he's seen it.
The Brotherhood Without Banners.
He's seen the magic.
No, but he saw her birth the shadow baby.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's a bit of a stretch between, you know.
It's just the idea of
like,
that she can't.
JJ
It's the idea of like
somebody back to life.
Maybe it's because the idea of he's seen her drink poison that should have killed her. He says she's birthed demons made of shadows, so it's like it's not impossible for him to conjure up the thought of her potentially being able to bring him back.
Yeah. He's like, is there anything you can do?
Right, and I think that's why he asked it like that. Like, you know, does he have to be dead?
Yeah. And when she has the whole thing of like, I knew somebody with this power, which means that whole connection to Thoros of Myr and Beric is just pushing us back to season 3 when that happens. Like how she's just so entranced by the fact that Thoros was able to bring back Beric more than one time. And he says, I just said some words and then just came back. So... yeah, she's so
and he didn't even say them because he thought they would work. He was just hoping on a prayer because he was drunk then too, but his boy was dead.
Yeah.
So he just pulled something out of his ass. And he was like, holy shit, it worked.
Yeah.
I was always amazed too, though, that in the scene where Thoros is resurrecting Beric earlier in the series, I thought it was interesting that he was doing the spell casting in the common tongue and not in Myronese or in High Valyrian or anything. But then she automatically does it in High Valyrian.
I think it was just for us to understand what Thoros was saying, just so we like have that kind of thing. So it's, and probably it was a cheap way of them not having to use subtitles. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never noticed that. Yeah, good catch.
Yeah. And yeah, so she's having this crisis of faith, and then she's like, okay, let me do it. So then she just comes into the room with everybody, and as probably most people could admit, that this was probably one of the scenes that they wanted to see. Kit Harington shirtless, because we don't normally get him very much. It's like one time up until this point that he has been. So
has it been since season 1 that you guys have been graced with?
No, that most people like in the fandom, it's like since that one point, it's like it's that, and then we're half naked. At least it was season 1, episode 1 or 2, and then it was the intimate scene that he has with Egret in season 3, and then it was this point. So the fact that a lot of people on Twitter were like, yes, when it happened.
It's because in the next episode when he sits up and you get that like,
oh yeah, you get the butt shot.
Well, and you get the back, like he's been doing back work like crazy for that scene, because it's just like, oh, I didn't know a back could be attractive, but he made it work.
Yeah, because they were probably like D&D called him and they're like, yeah, you're gonna die, but you're gonna come back, so you're gonna want to go to the gym for the 6 months that we don't need you on the show. Pretty much is like what his like thing was. It's like as part of his contract for season 6 and 7. It's like, yeah, you're just gonna need to go to the gym a lot, because for like 3 episodes you probably won't have like a lot of your normal clothes on, so just don't worry
at all.
That's hilarious.
Or at all. So.
But I don't remember who I was listening to. Somebody was talking about that scene. I was like, when John woke up, was he like, somebody cut my hair when I was down? It's like frat jokes, like they had like maybe shave his eyebrows or like draw penises on his forehead before he wakes up. Dude, this could be awesome. But I thought that it was interesting that she had like, I'm just gonna improvise, because there was no hair cutting or anything when she watched it happen.
I was wondering about that too. Like, Mel, you've never done this. Where did you even get all this nonsense from? You don't have none of your spell books here.
I think it was just to prolong that scene, so we're like literally almost falling off the edge of our seat. Like, come on, make this happen. It was just a way to extend the scene and to make it look like kind of funny.
Do you think ultimately in the end it was actually her? Or someone / something else? Like, I think we definitely have our John back, but I think he is a bit more changed, and we just haven't seen how much yet. Yeah. But I still question whether it was actually anything that Melisandre did.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that very much when she says like, it's not me, it's the Lord working through me. Yeah. I think, I definitely think she's a conduit that has learned to harness that power. But so much is dependent on her own judgment that all she can do is like open the gates, and whatever comes through is what comes through, and she's stuck with it.
Yeah, it's probably a mixture of the two, and it's kind of also ambiguous to whether it was the Lord of Light that did it, whether it was because it was Shireen's death that made it happen, because John even thinks about that in episode 10, where he's like, when he finds out that Shireen had died, and he has that split-second thought of what if her death meant me coming back, in a sense. Like, it's a few different things that you can kind of lay down. Like, it could be Shireen in the death paying for life.
Shireen would have had some powerful ass blood, because didn't they like change the weather with her death? Because that's what that main thing was for. Like, all the roadways were opened up clear, and they were able to roll through and get more supplies or set up their siege engines or whatever. But now she's the reason that John came back too. That's a lot.
Baby girl, but there's also the thought too that the whole Stannis and the false winter thing could have happened around the same time, and it was just that belief as well. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different theories about Jon and him coming back. Obviously, him coming back in the books will be different because Johnny reminded me that in the books, it's not only he is stabbed, but Jon's throat is slit at the end of his chapter. So Jon may be mute for the rest of this entire series, just like one of the favorite book versions of Catelyn is mute. So that may be a thing that happens because we can assume.
Very interesting.
Like
I did forget about that also.
So, because he'll really kind of come into Ghost's character as well, because it gives almost a double meaning as well. But yeah, Ghost Jon. But now Jon is back, and the last moments of him is just waking up. So obviously, next episode we see his reaction, real thoughts and reactions to him waking up. But that's how we end this episode. So, I guess we'll give our ratings for this episode. So do we rate it?
What's our scale?
It's out of 10. So you can do out of 10 and then something else. So it's like an example would be, I'll go first, and I'll say that mine is probably, I'd say 9 Melisandre mumbles, because she just goes blah, 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 blah.
I'd also give it a 9. I give it 9 head smashies, even though there was only 2 in the episode.
Oh man, I am way more critical than you guys. I'm going with let's see. What? Let's go with 7 starving dogs.
Ooh,
seven. Yeah. 7 starving dogs because of Roose being an idiot and Captain Guyliner.
Very true. Very true. So
I think there was a great deal of satisfaction in this episode from Jon's eyes opening and the closing music was excellent for that scene. The House of Black and White music, which is interesting, and seeing Winterfell when the previous generation of Starks are young. I thought that was a big payoff moment personally. So
it's just this is a nice way to come back. Like if this had been the season premiere, it would have been awesome. But obviously it was not. It was like a 2-part of a premiere. But yeah, it was a good episode. So any final thoughts? And then you can tell the people at home where to find you.
Yeah, I think that's it. Although Clarissa did just set me off on some tinfoil. Like, you show Resurrected Jon and then you start playing the theme song for the House of Black and White. That makes me think things. But we'll have to have that discussion at a later date. I think we got 2 more episodes to record after this. So you can always find me, in the chats around like pretty much everyone that we all love in this fandom, and also with these 2 lovely ladies here. And yeah, I've been AK.
And I'm Clarissa Thompson. You can find me Fridays on the Cylon Johns reviewing episodes of Battlestar Galactica. I'd like to thank Mackenzie and Alicia for doing this with me. I'm despite doing Fridays regularly since the fall, I still feel a bit like a novice. So I really do appreciate having some experts helping me out and inviting me along for the ride.
I wing it every time.
Yeah, we wing it all the time as much as possible. Yeah,
expert improvisers.
No matter how much times you do this, either live or recorded, you still just there's those moments of am I and we're still on? Is everything going exactly how it's supposed to? But
that never ends.
and it never ends and it never will end. It's always that thing of like, if you're not nervous, you're either just not prepared or you're just too relaxed. But yes, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me for this episode. It has been awesome, and I can't wait to talk about the next one coming very, very soon. But yeah, so we'll see more of these lovely ladies, and some new people coming in for episode club season Game of Thrones for season 6, and we'll see you all in the next one.